Christine, thank you for being here today.
Very welcome.
Known you for a few years now. Dear friends of ours are dear friends of yours, and just been connected with you on so many different fronts. You came into Encore as a patient and got the full body scan. So going to talk a little bit about all that today. First question for you is, do you feel like you're somebody who's always been concerned about your health or thought about your health?
Yes. Ever since I was very young, I started competitive swimming when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
And which was, way back in the 60s. But I learned very early on about the benefits of training and weightlifting from a very early age. So as I progressed into other sports and other competitions, I've always been very aware of the importance of maintaining my body and what I could do to make it better.
Well, the people watching can't see your full body, but you're very fit is the
Thank you.
is the moral of the story. So as you've aged, right, like gotten, what's been kind of front of mind in terms of just your health, and maybe you want to share an experience about different health issues you've had over the years, or things that have been just kind of front of mind and maybe had you worry a little bit?
Yeah, I've always cross-trained. I feel that's very important. I learned that if you stick with the same thing over and over your whole life, swimming, running, whatever, that you can tend to have more injuries. So I've always cross-trained and done a variety of sports just because I want to protect my health and I want to meet new people. And I've always been concerned about injury. And as I've gotten older, I become much more conscious of every little pain I feel. I know when I did CrossFit, I started feeling tweaks and things. And I said, okay, after I think it was 5 or 6 years of competing in CrossFit, I decided it was time to get out. I was in my 50s. Yeah. And so I listened to my body. I think that's the most important thing as you age, is to really listen to your body. And when something hurts, do something about it. And the other thing is to just appreciate that you are not, no matter how hard you've worked out your whole life, you're simply not going to be able to do what you were 30. And don't go into something thinking that you have a 30-year-old body when you really
I'd
don't.
even take it a step farther than that. I couldn't do in my 30s what I could do in my 20s, and I'm just hitting 40, and it's it's surgery and this and that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It goes quick, but it's interesting how we learn to manage that, right?
Yeah.
And I need to have you talk with my mom a little more, because she always pushes and tries to overdo it and ends up injured somehow. But it's kind of human nature, right?
Yes, it is. It is, especially if you have a certain type of personality.
Yeah.
So
usually former athletes, right?
Yes,
They're the biggest ones that are always got to push. We were hammered as kids that you got to sacrifice the body in sports.
And
that's not the approach.
No.
I tell my kids, I'm like, save the body. You can play hard and be aggressive, but don't necessarily hurt yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Listen to your body.
Yeah. So bring us more recently, right? Came in for a BodyView scan. Let's start very simple. What prompted you to even look into a BodyView scan? What were you thinking?
Well, I'm a single 67-year-old woman. I have one daughter and I have one grandson. And I began to realize as I got into my 60s that I did not want my daughter to have to take care of me in any way. And I also want to be the grandma who teaches my grandson how to surf, how to ski, how to snorkel. And so a combination of those things, plus watching the people I love the most die of preventable or diseases that could have been delayed. Yeah. I slept many nights in hospice with people that I love. And I decided, a combination of all those things, it's like, I want to know. I know there's some people who don't, but to me it was very important to know, because if there's anything I can do, especially to make my loved ones' lives easier. Caregiving is very difficult, and I want to make my aging enjoyable for the people around me, in addition to myself.
Yeah.
So a combination of all those things. And when I heard you guys were going to be doing this, I think I was the first one in your new machine.
You were.
I was very excited.
You were knocking on the door before we even
yes,
got it open.
Yes, I was. And I am very, very glad I did it.
So when you talk about your friends, right, that had diagnoses, right, that maybe could have been prevented, is there anybody in particular that sticks out to you that kind of really motivated you? You mind sharing their story?
Yes, sure. I had a boyfriend who I knew since I was a little girl. We went to high school together. We dated in high school. He was an amazing athlete. He was a decathlete, a runner. And he believed he was so healthy that he didn't need to get physicals and checkups and everything else. And he was he started suffering back pain severely, along with some other issues, and eventually went to the doctor. He thought it was from playing tennis or whatever. Turned out he had prostate cancer that had already metastasized into his bones, which is an extraordinarily painful type of cancer. And so I watched him suffer through that, and he didn't need to be told, but he knew that had he done some preventive testing, that could have been caught early. My mother's cancer, she had colon cancer, and her cancer, she did get preventive care. It was caught through colonoscopy. She had no symptoms. So I became a huge follower of preventive medicine in terms of I get my colonoscopy, I get my mammogram, I get blood work every year. So watching her really convinced me that preventive medicine is really what I needed to do to not only live longer, but live better longer.
Live better longer.
Yeah.
That's the goal, right? And everybody talks about longevity, but I think what we all are really talking about is health span.
Yes.
Right. Is how do we preserve how good we feel today as long as possible, right? I don't think anybody is fantasizing about an extra 5 years in the wheelchair and on oxygen at the end of life. It's like, how do we extend how we feel today?
Exactly.
Your boyfriend and mother both passed from the cancers?
Cancers. My father had lung cancer, which was caused by smoking.
Oof. And he passed as well?
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah. And that was preventable. But, back in those days, they didn't know smoking was bad for you.
Seems like a lot of that's coming up lately. I mean, we've known smoking for a while, but a lot of foods and a lot of things that we're finding aren't so good for us.
Right. Exactly.
So you decided to get the scan, right? Talk us through the experience, right? Besides knocking our door down to get in there, talk to me about the experience, how you were feeling before. Were you a little nervous and anxious, right? How was the actual experience inside the facility? And then we'll go from there.
Sure. I had an MRI before, so I knew what the process was going to be like. But the MRIs I had before were in medical settings, in hospitals and everything. So it was really kind of enjoyable to come into a place that was more spa-like than medical-like. And everybody was really wonderful. The machine was amazing because I'd had an MRI in the last year, and it was an older machine, very, very loud. I mean, all MRI machines are loud, but this one was much easier to tolerate, and it was very comfortable. I think I fell asleep.
I usually do too, which is interesting. It's kind of that rhythm, like it just knocks me out.
Yeah. And it was actually just a much more relaxing vibe than having an MRI in a medical setting.
In terms, if somebody was maybe a little nervous about coming in, what would you tell them?
Think of it as going to a spa and you're going to lay down very still for an hour.
There you go.
And that's it.
I actually kind of looked forward to it. I've obviously done a ton of MRIs myself, but it's like I typically fall asleep. And knowing that I'm going to be in there for 45 minutes, I was like, I'm going to get a good nap out of this.
Sure,
this would be great.
that's what I did. Yeah.
Very rare commodity with young kids. But, talk about the time of the scan, right? Like, what were you expecting? I know we talked ahead of time about how long the scan would be. Once you actually got in the machine, did it feel like longer, less time?
No, I was prepared. I knew it was going to take about an hour. My other MRIs that I'd had been, lengthy. So I knew that. I knew to be prepared to be in a closed space. And I don't have a fear of that, but I do practice, calming breathing when I'm in a situation like that.
Of course.
And I did that and actually fell asleep. So
That's
that was
great.
it. They woke me up in an hour.
Best case scenario.
Yeah.
It's timeless for you.
Yeah, painless.
So after you got out of the scan, right, we schedule your review with the physician for a week later. Talk me through that week. Were you nervous?
Yeah, that was very stressful for me.
Yeah.
Knowing that the results were out there in the universe somewhere
yeah.
was very stressful for me. Your mind just starts going to worst case scenarios, and you start remembering what other people have been through. And so I was very anxious and excited when I finally, got a chance to review my results.
So when you had the review with Dr. Devine, we love him to death. How was your experience in the review?
He was great.
Yeah.
He was great and very patient, explained everything to me because I am kind of a nerd and a freak about my health. And I knew I'm also a retired journalist, so I had a million questions, and very patient and answered all the questions I had.
Did you have any findings?
I did.
Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, no, not at all. I had some good findings. I had some bad findings. The good finding was the best one was that my brain is not shrinking. Apparently in older people, it's very common for the brain to start shrinking. And he said that my brain has not shrunk at all, which he attributed to, a lifetime of exercise. So that made me feel good. I do have some compressed vertebrae in my neck and my lower spine, which I knew about from, many, many thousands of miles of running. Yeah. I could feel it. I knew those areas were bad. The thing that was most concerning to me and that made this whole process worthwhile was they did find some spots on my pancreas, which when you hear that word, you instantly freak out. Yeah. He was very good because, he was prepared for the fact that I might freak out. He explained it in detail to me, the size. I also got the images, and they are not solid. They're fluid-filled, which means they're not, tumors of any kind.
They're cysts, correct?
Yes, but they can develop into tumors.
So you have to keep an eye on
cancer, yeah. And he recommended that I go to a gastroenterologist and get another MRI in 6 months. So I found a gastro and went to him, and he was, very happy to have the MRI that I had already done as a baseline because he did order another MRI, and he was able to compare it to the MRI I had and see that they actually had grown. And he wants to keep a close eye on them. Yeah. I don't have any symptoms, but had I not had the first MRI, I would never have known that this is something I have to keep an eye on. And he talked me through what the possibilities could be with this. And, I'm just really grateful because, as we all know, that is a very horrible type of cancer, which I don't want to develop. And if something bad were to happen, I would be able to catch it very early because of the initial MRI I did with you guys.
Now you're aware of it, right? And now you're keeping an eye on it. And knowing you'll be very diligent about that. And, everybody hears pancreatic cancer and assumes that it's a death sentence.
Right.
However, if you catch it early,
yes,
the outcomes are actually okay.
Yes, that's what he explained to me. But you don't catch it early unless you do something like a preventive MRI. So
because the symptoms don't show up. So I had Valerie, she's a physician, a PA. She was in earlier today, and she works at oncology practice, and she was explaining the different stages of cancer, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and effectively how symptoms aren't typically showing up until stage 3, stage 4. And at that point, especially stage 4, like you can't cure it. You maybe can extend life. A lot of times it's terminal, but you certainly can't cure it. But stage 1 and stage 2, something you can do about it. So pretty cool. So where are you at now?
I feel really good because I've spoken to my daughter. I think my daughter thinks she knows how healthy I am, and she's kind of like, Mom, come on. But I explained to her that, and now she understands. I want to be that grandma who can do those things. I want to be that mother who doesn't put all that caregiving on my daughter. I want to be the person who can go to bed at night and know that if something were to happen to me medically, I don't want to be the person laying there saying, I wished I'd done this, I wished I'd done that. Because now, whatever comes, I'd be able to say, I did everything I possibly could.
Yeah.
I will not have any regrets going forward. And that's really important, because if you do get sick, your mental health is very much tied to your immune system. And I can go into anything now, not only physically healthy because of my lifestyle over my lifetime, but also knowing mental health wise that I don't have any regrets. I did what I could, preventive wise, and I'm really glad I did this.
It's so interesting, and this has come up in every conversation I've had lately. You talk about the peace of mind, knowing, hey, I did everything I can. It all comes back to probabilities, right? And if we have mitigated risk where we can, we could do all the right things,
right?
And then step off the curb tomorrow and get hit by a bus, right?
Yeah.
But in our minds, we know we're doing everything we can to reduce the probability of developing an illness that maybe was preventable. So I really, really love the way that you look at that. And it's funny that it keeps coming up every conversation I'm having.
Yes.
So for somebody who tends to worry, like you do, maybe a little bit. Sometimes. Yeah. We all do. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think is more important, wondering about it or actually checking?
I did a lot of research on that before I did this, because there is a lot out there on doctors' opinions on this. Many doctors will say, of course we're going to find something, and they kind of dismiss it. There are a lot of people who don't want to know if they have something impending. My feeling after all the research I did was, I'm older. I'm 67. Yeah, they're going to find something that could potentially be very serious in a woman my age because of my age. So to me, it made perfect sense. And like I said before, I want to know, because I want to prepare myself and I want to prepare everyone around me. And I want to, like I said, I don't want to have any regrets. So I looked at it as, this is for someone my age. For elderly people, I just don't think you can do anything better for your health in terms of medically. I know physically there are a lot of things you can do, but medically, I think this is one of the most important preventive things you can do, in addition to, mammograms and pap smears and everything else.
Stuff, yeah.
It was part of my entire preventive package that I do, and I highly recommend it.
It's very inspiring.
Yeah.
So somebody's on the fence. What would you tell them?
Do it.
Do it. Okay. Very simple.
In fact, I have told people that, older people, they talk about, should I do it? I like, do it. And then I tell them the story about, my experience with my pancreas. And it changes a lot of minds.
I mean, it can, so I don't know if you know this, but I had the same thing show up on my scan, pancreatic cyst.
Yeah.
And same thing back for follow-up scan, something I'm monitoring. It's not something you really think about until you have the diagnosis, but like catching it early, I mean, we're talking about could be a possible decades difference in your lifespan.
Right.
And, a lot of the longevity stuff and things that we focus on, we're always talking about health span and adding years to your life. And again, I think people tend to drift into like, oh, well, I'll live to 97 instead of 95, right? Like, well, what's the, how much effort am I going to put into making sure that happens? But when you're talking about something like pancreatic cancer, and if you catch it early and cure it at 50, 60, 70, 10, 20, 30 years of extra life you could be given just by taking this extra step. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I when I think about that, I think about that a lot. I think, well, that gives me the possibility out there that I'm going to see my grandson graduate from high school or college, or, getting married, walking down the aisle. I mean, those type of things are something to think about, especially when you're older. It's like those extra 2 years, that matters to me. When you're young and in your 30s, maybe an extra 2 years. But to me, that's huge.
Could be the
And
difference,
yeah, I think about that a lot. And
that's a great way to put it, think about those important things that you can miss out on.
yeah, I want to be there for all of that. And I want to be healthy for all of that.
Yeah.
So
We're going to wrap up with some rapid fire questions.
All right.
So you just give us your quick answer. It can be a couple words, couple sentences,
Sure.
and we'll go from there.
sure,
Were you more nervous before or after the scan?
after
After? In between the scan and the review?
the results,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
Did knowing give you peace of mind after the review?
Tremendous peace of mind.
Awesome. What surprised you most about the experience?
The results having to do with my pancreas and the fact my brain hadn't shrunk.
That's great.
that was very reassuring.
Is not knowing ever better?
To me, no. And that may have to do with my career as a journalist.
Yeah.
I have to know everything.
Very investigative.
Yes,
I love that.
yes.
One word for how you feel now versus before the scan.
Confident.
Awesome. Christine, thank you so much.
Sure.
Pleasure
Thank
to have
you.
on.
Yes. Take care.